Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here today with my friend Chris Nicholson. We're here to talk about the last episode of Better Call Saul, season six. What number are we on? Episode
This
nine.
was
Uh,
9.
Fun and games. So, Chris, what did you think about this?
Oh, it was a good episode. I heard that some people thought it was filler somehow, that not much happened, but I think a lot happened.
People think it's filler. Wait a minute. So, spoilers, everyone. I mean, they broke up. I mean, that's like the
Yeah,
biggest thing that's happened in the whole series.
yeah. I think that for some people, like maybe they thought that the wine scene with Gus dragged on a bit too long.
Oh, I love that. I have no idea what was happening, but I love that. Okay, so go continue. Just continue. We'll get
Well, I
back to
mean that's interesting. Like what? I want to know why you love that. If
okay.
you didn't know what was going on.
So it. I had no idea what it was about, and so no other show would do this. No other show would like have this just very long thing that is telling us something subtle about this guy, that we have to sort of think about what's going on and exactly what's what is the what's the point of this scene. Well, what role does this play in the universe? And it has this, it has this recurring thing in the Breaking Bad universe where like is you often have guys who are very into things and they talk about their hobby like in a very passionate way. So this is a recurring theme, and this is so cool that it captures this again and again. So like Chuck with the law, right? You have that engineering guy, Ziegler, whatever his name is. He
Right.
just loves construction and architecture. And you have Mike, who likes do-it-yourself stuff and fixing things. Walter too with the meth. And so all these guys they have this there's just like a very like male focused sort of almost almost autistic engineering sort of brain, kind of passion for something, and that wine scene was sort of uh in that sort of genre, but it's like a gay version of it,
Okay.
because I think they were so it's a different facet of like this masculine obsession
So
thing.
you did pick up on that. I was wondering
Like,
if
was it subtle? I mean, I don't think it was subtle. I think that they were. I thought they were like boyfriends. I thought they or something like that, or they had they were
they
hitting
were
on.
flirting with each other.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that was. I don't think that was. Uh, yeah. I don't think like we talked about this many weeks ago. Like whether Gus being gay was sort of
Right, right.
subtle.
Back at the beginning, and I was curious about whether you pick
Well,
up
I
on
went
the
back
gay.
and I watched I recently watched the show again, and yeah, it's not subtle. He's obviously gay. They even call him like him and his butt buddy or something like that. Like this cartels, like they talk about that. He has that one episode late in season five where he has that fountain dedicated to Max, dedicado or whatever, however you say it, Max. And so he's obviously we know Gus is gay. We know he's like there's this guy who's like, this guy who's obsessed with wine. And it seems like and so you have that. It's showing us a few things. It's showing us that Gus like has this sort of civilized, polished sort of side to him.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he has this part of him that's like pillar of community. He has the side of him that's like, refined sort of gay gentleman kind of thing. Um, and so you have that going on. You have the sort of wondering why he left. I thought the next scene was going to be him going. I thought he was going to go kill Nacho's dad or something. I thought Mike was like going to save Nacho's dad. That's what I thought was happening. Mike was going to save Nacho. Like they both realized, like us, like I should kill him, and Mike was like, I'm going to go save him. I don't know why he was going to kill him. I just thought like, okay, that's his loose end. He wants to kill him for some reason. Maybe the cartel will get to him or something first. Um, or maybe, and so like I don't know why. I still don't know why he left. I don't know if it was a personal thing. Like, is he like a repressed homosexual? Like that guy, like they were gonna like go home together if he stayed there, and he had to like leave in order not to do
I
that.
mean, I think that's the direction things were headed in. And when Gus brought up the whole like, oh, that wine that you recommended to me a
Yeah,
year ago,
yeah,
I actually got a bunch, and the other guy is suggestively is like, well,
yeah,
let me know if you ever find an occasion when you're going to open it. And
yeah.
it seems like they were moving towards taking it outside the place, taking it back to somebody's house. But I don't think it was some kind of in the closet repression that made Gus stop.
Uh-huh.
I think it was more like he remembered what he really wanted, which was revenge against the Salamancas, and that I think he'd gone to that restaurant, to that bar, as a way of kind of celebrating. But
Yeah.
then after he celebrated for a while, he realized, you know what? Like the real enemies are still there. They're still alive. It's not over.
So
And maybe part of it was also that as he got close to this sommelier, he remembered his old dead boyfriend, Max. And he thought, like, hey, if it's not over, if my enemies are still alive, if I get close to a guy,
uh,
decent chance he gets killed.
he's afraid to get close to the guy. So you can't have a gay date while he's still plotting his revenge against the Salamancas. He
Well, I
can
mean,
go out and he
he's
can drink
Gus.
alone in a bar, but he can't have too good of a time or it'll take him away from revenge. His
I
true
mean,
passion.
I think the biggest thing, thing number one was just like revenge comes first.
Okay.
Thing number two might have been like, hey, it's dangerous for anybody to get involved in me with me
Uh
before
huh.
I finish the revenge.
Uh-huh. Before I finish the revenge. Okay, so he cares it. Did you catch that part where the guy is talking about wine and he's like, this one comes from this has this earthy, meaty flavor. There's magnesium in the earth. And like, it's like bloody. He says like bloody, meaty, and then Gus is like drinking it. It's like very symbolic about, Gus what he's in there to enjoy. He's enjoying, all the killing he's been doing.
Yep, definitely. And
That
that might be part of what reminded Gus about the revenge that was still to come.
Yeah, because it was a little bit after that. Yeah, did he forget the revenge in this moment? But I just like I like seeing I like seeing like gay refined Gus. He's like,
Right,
oh
right.
really? Tell me more. It's a very different thing.
And Gus was like eyeing the other guy this whole time from beginning to end. And I think Gus even licked his lips once or twice just to make it
Mm.
real clear to the viewers what was going on.
Okay, yeah,
And
and
this
so
is a
they knew it.
side of Gus that we just have never seen in either of the shows.
Yes, yes, we know he was gay, but we haven't like watched him in his element at any point. And so this guy doesn't look like they had a previous relationship. It looks like they knew each other, like he was a regular at the restaurant or something.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, it looks like they've talked, at the restaurant about wine over the years. And it looks like maybe Gus was thinking like, hey, maybe it's time to finally get a move on this now that I've finished off most of the Salamancas, or
uh,
finished off some of the Salamancas.
yeah, and so is so yeah, so we both you like this, so you like this too. You
Yeah,
didn't like.
no, I actually felt like this was kind of a farewell to Gus from the show. Like I would
Mm.
not be surprised if this is the last time we see Gus and we don't see him in the remaining four episodes.
You're right because there's we know we know we're gonna see Jimmy. We don't know who if we're gonna see anyone. We don't know. We might not see Kim again. I mean, something we have to know something about him, but we know Gus's fate. We know um,
Yeah,
what's going to happen to him. I would guess that they're still gonna because they still have the yeah. I don't know. I mean, they have 4 episodes left. We speculated on where they're gonna go from here. But you said that like the Reddit people or whoever you're reading like they didn't like that scene. Is that right?
there were a few people who didn't like it and who were like, the episode is filler. That scene was the biggest filler. It stretched on too long and
People
nothing
are
happened.
morons. See, people don't appreciate this show. People really don't appreciate this show.
Yeah, I think this show may be one of the rare cases where the critics are a little more right than the audience.
Yeah. Hmm. So the critics like this. So you're plugged in. I have no idea what the critics think, but the critics like it. You're saying, and the audience is a little more critical here.
I think that the audience that watches it likes it a lot, but
Mm.
for the most part. But there are
They
some people
don't
that are
like
just
they
like,
don't
it's
like
too pricey, it's too
yeah they
slow.
don't like the things me and you like. They don't like the things that the critic they like. So that Gus scene like was a thing that it was just yeah that was my favorite scene. Like so that's the kind of thing that they don't like. They wish there was less of that and more I guess
Yeah,
shoot
yeah, more guns blazing, more people snorting coke and doing
yeah.
that.
Well, I think that's why people like Breaking. I mean, the people who like Breaking Bad but don't like Better Call Saul. Breaking Bad comes right out the gates with killing and violence, and so like Better Call Saul has like a few seasons where they're like nobody gets killed, right? There's no violence or anything, and it's like a professional work environment. It's very subtle, so a lot of people, they don't. It doesn't keep their attention. Um, yeah, yeah, nobody gets killed in the beginning, even the cartel storyline. I don't think I wonder. I'm trying to remember what's the first death like of the entirety of Better Call Saul. I don't know.
Yeah, I really, I mean, it's got to be something involving
Wait,
probably Mike and the whole drug storyline early on.
first death, Better Call Saul. Let's see, because it's mm, list of character deaths. Breaking Bad wiki, Better Call Saul. So season one had three deaths, so that's a lot. That's more than I thought. Season two had three. Oh, this is cool. So it has like a list of by show. So Breaking Bad has two deaths in season one.
Huh.
Better Call Saul has three. Season two, Better Call Saul has three. Season three, it has one. So it has 1 to 3 deaths per season. Breaking Bad has two in season one. It has 176 in season two, and then it has 27 in season three. I don't know what those under 26 is. So okay, so you have orders of magnitude more death in the
Who
early
was
season.
it? Who was the first one to die in Better Call Saul?
So they say season one um, shot to death in revenge for the it's showing Mike's the flashback with Mike.
Oh,
It's counting that
okay.
where he kills the guy, and that's pretty late in the season too. That is that's one of the last of the season two. You have Marco's heart attack, so that's not somebody getting killed. Remember Marco, the
No,
fat guy, Saul's
yeah.
Jimmy's friend. So these are not these are like not even in these are flashbacks. These aren't even part of the story.
You know,
Uh,
I think part of it is that in Better Call Saul, even still, sometimes in some of these episodes, the climax of a typical episode doesn't involve like a dramatic showdown with a drug dealer, you know,
mhm.
usually a dramatic showdown with a lawyer. And that's actually what it was this time too. And the key moment in the climax is not when somebody draws their gun or pulls the trigger on somebody else. It's when somebody says something devastating.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be hard to appreciate. I mean, to me, the climax of this episode was the moment when Kim is talking to what's her name? Kim is talking to Howard's wife, uh, and Kim decides to pull off this kind of epic lie to her and and masterfully convince her that she's the one that's actually to blame for Howard's death because she didn't notice the signs.
Yes, that was evil. I hated Kim in that moment. And so yeah, look at the other deaths. Like they're counting stuff like Jimmy's mom dying, like on her deathbed, with the flashback. So yeah, these are very, they're not like the Breaking Bad. What was it? Second episode where he chokes Crazy Eight to death, where he kills him. So it's not it's a different kind of thing. Um, the
And Crazy Eight, I know a bunch of people. There are some family members of mine who actually stopped watching Breaking Bad at like episode 2 or 3, whichever the one is, where it's the episode where they spend the entire thing trying to get rid of Crazy Eight's body and they end up dissolving it in acid. Like
uh
that was so intense that a bunch of people just stopped watching the show there.
Yeah. Well, not a lot of people stopped because it was one of the most popular shows around. But
Well, okay, yeah,
yeah,
some people, a decent number of people stopped
yeah,
watching it there. I think.
yeah. The violence is yeah. I mean, we had some good years of. So yeah, it's a different thing. It's like Breaking Bad. I mean, I think yeah, Better Call Saul has more. I think emotional, subtlety. And they both have the mix of violence and sort of like psychology. Right? It's just different in the two shows. Um, and yeah, and they both do these things. I mean, they both do these things that are just pure psychology of like some kind of thing going on inside a person's head where it's like, so they had a whole episode of Breaking Bad of like Walt chasing the fly. You remember this? Just a whole
I
an
think
entire.
everybody remembers the Fly episode.
Yeah, so this, I mean, this stuff is just, this makes it cool. I mean,
Well,
this makes it really cool.
that
uh,
is the one episode that truly was kind of filler, and
yeah.
that one it was literally filler. Like it had something to do with budget constraints.
Was it really?
Yeah,
So they had budget constraints, and they like what they ran out of money, and they just had to do this thing.
yeah, it was something called a bottle episode. I'd have to look up the exact details, but it boiled down to some kind of technical constraint, and then they did the best they could to turn it into a character episode.
Huh. A bottle? What does that mean, a bottle episode?
I'd have to look it up. Let me look it up right now. That's
Uh-huh.
like technical term. In episodic television, a bottle episode is produced cheaply and restricted in scope to use as few regular cast members, effects, and sets as possible. And like, yeah, that's literally what that episode was designed to do.
Uh-huh.
2 actors, 1 set.
Yeah. I do not think that. Yeah, filler has a negative connotation, though. I enjoyed the Fly episode.
I don't remember it too well. I'm sure that it was pretty good.
Yeah, these things are developing characters. So it's like a person in real life. It's not like like 10 hours. You know a lot more than that. So like
Yeah, I just read some interview, I think with Vince Gilligan about it, where he was like, "Yeah, we had a lot of other expensive stuff we wanted to do in the season, so to make the budget fit, we had to have a bottle episode."
yeah. Well, I mean, they're just their budgets. There's trade offs, right? So it's like not everything is gonna. But so yeah, they do. I mean, they do this stuff, and you feel like I feel like they do give you something closer to the characters. I mean, you see sort of this thing where it's like Gus is like the most uh the most extreme example of this, but you do see people like different sides of people, and you do see sort of depth within their character. I thought that yeah, so Kimmy was she's she's evil. And then I'll tell you something I didn't like about that episode. So yeah, I've been complimenting this series, and I was into it at the time, but I think it became sort of like a little bit of a tropish. So you have this like Breaking Bad, you have this thing where like Walt has this great moment of self realization. He goes, "I did it because for myself," right? And then like you end Saul in like the exact same way with Kim. She comes and she says, it was all for, whatever. We did it because I enjoyed it too much. And it's like, oh, okay, well, like it's sort of ending in the exact same way where like the character who tried to justify that, things to themselves, like has this great moment of self realization. And it seemed to me like that was just too close to sort of, the great realization at the end of Breaking Bad. I would have liked them to stay. I mean, I would have think it'd been cool to be diluted forever or like have some kind of more elaborate or if Kim just became like instead of realizing it just like decided she wasn't attracted to Jimmy anymore, like I don't know, something like he became like bad at scamming or something, like he failed to scam or something, and then she like lost her attraction and then made up some high-minded reason at that point. Like I think there was you could have had some kind of thing that didn't end in like it's too psychologically neat, like it ends in a great flare of self-awareness.
Well,
um,
this moment was kind of it was kind of a rhyme with that Walt realization in Breaking Bad, but
mm,
I liked it because there was an inversion to this, which is where in that kind of moment we realized that we thought from the beginning that this would just be kind of the story of how Jimmy breaks bad. That seemed like the premise of the show from the beginning. But as time goes on, and then crystallized here at the end, Kim basically tells us, no, it was actually the story of how I break bad. And after she leaves Jimmy, Jimmy doesn't actually that last transition from Jimmy to Saul is not Jimmy breaking bad in the Walt or Kim kind of style. It's actually Jimmy being broken. He's not doing the breaking.
Yeah, he's broken. He's broke. Yeah, that was sad. Yeah, the end was like the gaudiness of like his mansion. It's over the top. It's like it reminded me of like Trump. Like this is what people think about Trump, like with his gold ceilings and chandeliers and stuff. But
And he has
it's like
a gold
extreme.
toilet too.
It's extreme. It's much more extreme than that. It's like the most cliche, like sort of. He has these. I don't know what are these like these Greek drawings on his wall. These Greek drawings on his wall. And he has it's just gross to like any normal human. You don't like that's like there's something so that's not Jimmy's natural style. I don't think it was that. I think it's like he made it so ugly. Like he made it match his inner ugliness. Like his life like was just and it is like life is like it's like an elaborate ugliness. It's like an ugliness that takes a lot of crazy effort to create something that ugly, like his scams, which are just like so much effort for like such little payoff.
Yeah,
um
it's like Jimmy. He created Saul to be this kind of two-dimensional caricature of a sleazy lawyer. He Jimmy kind of created Saul to be exactly the lawyer that Chuck thought he would be. Except dialed up to 11. And
yeah,
then after Kim left him, Jimmy basically, it seems to me like he's decided like to kind of retreat into Saul. Like he doesn't want to be Jimmy anymore. He doesn't want to feel or remember the things that Jimmy would feel or remember. and
Yeah.
so he just kind of embraces the tackiness, and he tries to become the character as much as he can.
Yeah, yeah, the yeah, the embrace the tackiness. The tackiness is sort of, because like you could imagine someone being very tacky just because they have no level of self. Like I think people think of Trump like this, like he just thinks like hamburgers are great and like gold toilets are great. But that's not. I don't think that's Jimmy. Jimmy doesn't care about material things. That's the thing. Jimmy, when he starts off, doesn't care about material things. He's uncomfortable with them. Um, he wants to sleep in the back of the Vietnamese nail salon. He doesn't want to, have a nice apartment, right? And so he like, he just becomes this thing where he's like, yeah, he becomes a caricature, but it's not real pleasure in those things. It's so complex because it's not like he's just becoming a caricature, a guy who like loves money and loves nice things. It's like he's a guy who uses money and nice things to like make things as ugly as possible. Right?
Yeah,
It's completely worse than that.
I think there is some truth to that. At the same time, I wonder if part of it might be this kind of complex that poor people with a chip on their shoulder sometimes have when they make it. Uh, Seems like maybe part of it is that he just wants things that make the viewer have to accept that he's rich. And the point of it is not to demonstrate taste. The point is to give a compelling proof that anybody who lays their eyes on it, anybody who sees the statues or the gold toilet has to be like, yes, this guy is very rich. They can't deny it.
Yeah, but I think that's what very dumb people do when they get it. I mean, I think it was too much for as someone as intelligent as Jimmy. I think it was too over the top. I think it cries out for more of an explanation. Yeah, that's what, maybe what a lot of poor people are like when they get rich, but like it's too much. I mean, it's too the bed that, rotates just the detail. I mean, the details here are just incredible. The socks. I think it's a purposeful. Uh, yeah, there's something more. There's
Well,
something.
certainly it's very over the top, and yeah, I think a lot of it is just about embracing the Saul persona fully.
Let me ask you: Do you think the Saul Goodman business model makes a lot of sense? So he's just hanging around one courtroom. He's like he has these endless number of criminals. They're people with not a lot of money, and he somehow becomes very, very, very wealthy. Does this is this like a business model that makes sense?
Well, a couple things might be going on. First of all, it may be the kind of business model where it's really the whales, the few whales that
Yes,
make him
that's right. Yes,
rich.
it's the Salamancas and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and he's got to get his name out there. Maybe everybody else is just advertisement and connections to get him closer to the whales.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's smart. That makes sense. So yeah, he's not just taking $1,000 here or there. He's doing a lot of other
And
things.
another part of it is like I think he is just extremely industrious, and it adds up. I think it really does add up. Like the sheer amount of work he takes on. I
Yeah,
think that's one of the things we're meant to understand as viewers. Like many lawyers do a lot of work, but I think Saul puts in more hours even than most of them.
yeah, yeah. He doesn't have a personal life, right? He's like with prostitutes, I guess, or whatever. So yeah, that makes sense. His life is his work. The other thing, well, here's another thing I don't get. It's all focused on this one Albuquerque courtroom, and his reputation is shot, and like everyone hates them, right? And so like, is he in the best position to be getting great deals for his clients when like the judges and all the prosecutors and everyone thinks he's just a big scumbag?
Yeah, that's a good question. And like as a practical matter, I kind of suspect that in a realistic world, things wouldn't have gone well for him as a lawyer just
Mm,
because he burnt every bridge, and
yeah,
you need a few bridges. But in the world of the show, I think this is a way that it allows itself to be unrealistic. I think in the show's world, basically, it turns out he's able to turn his reputation as a scumbag to his advantage because he just goes in there and he's like the other party, the DA is like, oh man, Saul Goodman, he's gonna play every dirty trick in the book. He's just gonna outgun me in every way. Because he hates me and he hates the law. He's gonna spend 100 hours in fake TV
yeah,
commercials just
yeah,
to get this public masturbator free.
yeah. Yeah, but
And
that
they're like,
goes
it's too
against
much
like,
work. I'll
but
cut a
there's
deal
no
with it.
Yeah, but there's not enough hours a day given how many clients he has, right? So it seems like they would be able to thwart this.
Well,
Uh,
but that's the thing. He's basically kind of bluffing. You know, given the volume of clients he has, he couldn't, in fact, create a fake commercial for each one of them. He
this is
could
an
pull off
iterative
a
game.
scam
They're
for each
seeing him
one of
all
them.
the time. They're seeing him all the time in the Albuquerque courthouse. Everyone knows him. It's a small world.
But
They'll,
he
they'll,
just
oh, he's
kind
got.
of does it. He does it a few times to each of the people to kind of rub their noses in the idea that Saul Goodman will not play fair, and he will put more hours into cheating than you will into winning.
Yeah,
And then
and
after that, then
also
no.
yeah, and his secret here is he's so unethical. He'll do anything, and he'll make up fake evidence. He'll do anything, and maybe that's something that a lot of lawyers could do if they were as unethical as he was. But the fact that he's willing to sort of, you know, push these lines like no one else is and cross these lines is uh, maybe his advantage. Okay, so that's
And
yeah.
remember, part of it is that these are most of them generally are pretty small cases.
Mm,
Like I think that's part of the game Saul is playing with the DAs. Like they really don't care about making sure that justice is served on the public masturbator.
yeah.
Saul just cares a lot more about winning than they do in these cases.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. The last scene in the show where he's taking what does the secretary say when he pushes the button?
Pushes the button. I don't
So
know.
remember the last scene, like the last scene, he's in his office. He sits down. He puts his whatever his earpiece into the desk, and then he pushes and he says something, and like the person says Francesca maybe probably says something.
I don't remember specifically. She was just saying like, "Here's the caseload for the day."
I
I
thought
remember that one of them
I
involved a public
thought
masturbator.
I thought I heard her say White. I thought that was supposed to be Mr. Walter White, but I don't know. He didn't introduce himself as Walter White, so no, it can't
No,
be
no,
that.
he wasn't going by White. I
Okay,
think it was
unless
something else.
that scene is not the initial meeting with Walter, unless it's a later meeting with
Well,
Walter.
I think we were meant to be given the impression that this is actually kind of the day, or this is very close to the time when they first meet, and Saul is taking up the case of Badger. Uh, because
Yeah.
I think part of the hint was that when we first see Saul and he walks into the office or the room with Badger, he mixes Badger up with a public masturbator, and he talks to him for a while on the
Oh, Badger
assumption
was in there. Badger was in there.
uh, well, the first scene in Breaking Bad, when they meet, Saul
Ah,
walks in and he confuses
masturbator.
him.
Oh, is he the public? Yeah, it probably has a lot of public masturbators, but yeah,
Right, right.
okay, yeah,
But I think that this is a hint that we're there basically, and
yeah,
it's happening
yeah.
right then.
I assume so. That's I think where we would expect to be. Um, yeah, and so okay, so yeah, we're there, and so they're gonna start. I guess we're gonna go through this thing. I think we're done. Is Kim gonna? Another thing, the trope thing we talked about, like Kim self realization. It's always there's another trope where it's like the common man who tells you the simple truth, right? So when Mike is talking to Nacho's dad, right? I knew that like where that was gonna go, right? I knew he was gonna like Mike was gonna pretend to be moral, and then Nacho's dad would say something like, "Yeah, no, this is not justice, this is revenge." So you
The
know,
salt of the earth.
yeah. Yeah, it's who does this in Breaking Bad? It's I don't know. Maybe. Who does it in Saul is Huel. Huel always has these. Has a few of these. I went back recently, watched the episode where they got married. Do you remember this? Where Huel is like, "Oh man, you gotta like, why you getting married to her, man? You guys gonna go on a honeymoon?" He's like, "No, it's not like that." He's like, "Oh, you got a little rugrat? Is that what it's about?" He goes, "Is she gonna go by Goodman or McGill?" He's like Wexler. And he's like, "Man, this ain't right." He's like, and so he's judging him over you judging him over his fake marriage. And so yeah, you have this, the salt of the earth, yeah, the common man telling the truth. But anyway, so yeah, so we're gonna go to the we're gonna go, yeah, we're in the future. Are we gonna see Kim again?
Yeah, I think we will. I mean, it doesn't feel done, and I guess the big question on my mind is like, damn, there's 4 episodes left. Like this, they could have used this as a finale for the most part, and I wouldn't have been too surprised. But there's 4 episodes left, so that's pretty interesting because there's so much that's been tied off now. And so I think that one of the things that we have to see more from Kim. And I still go back to the vacuum cleaner guy and how he fits into in all of this. And now, you know, I'm no longer thinking that Kim will use the vacuum cleaner guy to disappear. I don't quite know. I guess the question is, now that we've fast forwarded and we're in the future, we're in Breaking Bad, and Saul is Saul. Are we just there for good now? Or at points, are we ever going to go back to the in between time? And I don't completely know. Uh, one suspicion I have is if we're in the future, we're at least in Breaking Bad, and we're probably later than that too, and we're going to pick up the whole Gene future storyline. I wonder if maybe Kim is going to use the vacuum cleaner guy information to find Saul. Seems like that's a way that could pay off, because I still think it needs to pay off all that time they spent with Kim looking at the vacuum cleaner
Yeah,
guy's car.
I think you're too obsessed with that. I mean, I think we'll see Kim again, but I don't think the fact that she looked at the vacuum cleaner that. I mean, there's a lot of
It's
things.
Chekhov's card. It's Chekhov's vacuum cleaner card. Just as a matter of writing, I look at little details like this.
There's a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of things which people look at for. Well, it might just be like giving you a hint. Oh, isn't this interesting? Haha, look at how interesting this is. It doesn't mean that that's. So you're. So I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. Though we will see. We'll see Kim. She has to have something happen in her life, right? She doesn't have like just there's no like the murder. I don't think there's going to be any suspicion. I think they cleaned up the Howard thing, so I just wonder like what else is there for her? Like we still need to know what she's going to do with her life. Um, we know that the Howard thing is probably not going to come back to her. There's probably no legal thing that's going to come back
Well,
to her.
I
So
want to
like
refresh my memory on this. So Walt, toward the end of Breaking Bad, Jesse is captured by the Nazis. The Nazis put Jesse to work making meth. Which lab did the Nazis do that in? Is it in Gus's old lab that they have Jesse work?
no, how would they have Gus's lab? Well, Nazis had their. I mean, they must have had their own, right?
I guess I'm gonna have to go back and look at that again, because at the same time, like, you know, coming up with a top tier lab, a little complicated for the Nazis. I had a vague memory of that happening in Gus's old lab, and Walt dying there, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, I don't remember the details of this well either. But do you
Because
think this was? You
it's
think?
relevant now. It's relevant now because it comes back to the question, like, one way or another, if the authorities ever find Gus's old lab and look into it, then they should be able to uncover Lalo and Howard's bodies.
How would the Nazis have Gus's lab?
You know, I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look into all of that again.
Hmm. Okay, because yeah, I would think that yeah, I would have that would have stuck in my head if that was a see. So Gus doesn't die until very late, so it's not like they take it over when he's dead. Gus, oh, how does Jesse get out of the? Oh, Gus must have died, and then Jesse. How does Jesse get out of Gus's grip? He dies. How did the Nazis even get Jesse? Do you remember? So Jesse was Jesse with Gus until the very end of Gus's life.
I don't. I think so. I think
Yeah.
he was still cooking meth for Gus, because how else would Gus have gotten good meth? And so I think basically the Nazis just took over Jesse's contract. They put a gun to his head. They killed Andrea. They did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but then they
So I mean,
had
Jesse would know where Gus's lab was. But
yeah.
this is just a kind of a dumb empirical question. I just need to go back and
Look,
look.
get in there. It's under a business. It's under the laundromat, right? You would have to have access to it.
Yeah,
It's not
I
just
just need to go back and look and see which lab the Nazis had Jesse working out of.
Do you want to just Google it now since we have freedom to do that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure.
Uh, Jesse captured by Nazis. Breaking Bad. What is it? Jesse Pinkman.
Oh,
What happened?
um, okay. The gang steals Declan's meth making equipment.
Whose equipment?
And Declan, he was this kind of fringe bad guy character that the Nazis kill.
Uh-huh. And so they have equipment.
Okay, yeah. I guess from reading this little bit so far, I guess it's a new lab that the Nazis have constructed. It's not Gus's old lab. Forget that. But still, I mean, if anybody does ever find Gus's old lab, then they should be able to find Howard and Lalo's bodies, and that could open the cold
Well,
case.
yeah, I mean, you think that they would check the Gus, everything connected to Gus anyway, right? Because he's blown up. It's pretty suspicious. They would start, he was killed in a suicide attack by the Salamanca guy. So yeah, I
Right,
think
right. That's a pretty glaring sign. Like, hey,
yeah, that's a clue.
no, known ex drug lord blew up a guy. Maybe
Yeah,
the guy is involved somehow in the drug trade.
yeah. So okay, so they're gonna get to the cops will have a lead to get to the lab anyway. Um,
I think that would be a kind of cool way to connect all of this and make it all relevant years later. To have them
yeah, because
uncover Howard's body.
yeah, because so that they could get the body, and then after Gus dies, they could find the body, and then they can arrest Kim. I guess they could still arrest Kim. I mean, look, if they find the body, I think just Jimmy, Jimmy and Kim are the prime suspects. I mean, or maybe not. I mean, maybe maybe it's just Gus. They think it was Gus, and that's it. And they still hold up Jimmy and Kim and Jimmy's story still holds up.
No,
Uh,
no. I think at that point, if the authorities do uncover Howard's body and it's clear he was involved in all the drug business along with Gus, I think at that point, uh, Jimmy and Kim would become very suspicious. It's just that Jimmy's gone now. He's already undercover.
yeah, yeah, and Kim can be arrested. Kim can still be
Now,
arrested. They
yeah, for all we know, Kim is still around under her own name in the same area. Or if not in the same area, wherever she is, she's still going by Kim Wexler. And
Yeah,
so
I
the
don't think
big
there's any reason
problem
not. Yeah,
they find
no reason
Howard's
to think she's
body.
not going by Kim Wexler. I don't think there's any reason to tell us that she's not. Um,
But for all we know, the authorities still know where Kim is. They can still find her.
yeah, yeah, no, there's no reason not to. We don't have any hint she's into going to hiding. She's just
Yeah.
breaking up with
So
Saul.
it would be a big problem for her if they found Howard's body.
Maybe. I mean, they look. They assume. I mean, Gus is the natural suspect because it's Gus's. It's Gus's. It's Gus's lab. He's buried there. Gus is a drug dealer and murderer. Well, Saul and Kim are not, as far as I know. I think it would still be that. I think it would still be that. Gus kill. Okay, now why would Gus kill this guy? No, okay, so you're right. So they would say he was last seen at this house. Okay, yeah, you're right. I think because Gus has no motive to kill um, Howard. Makes no sense.
It's
But
just a
there's
very strong hint that Kim and Jimmy were in the game.
yeah, very strong hint. Right, they were in the game. Right. Okay.
And they would know Hector Salamanca killed Gus, and they know that Jimmy represented Lalo
Yeah,
Salamanca.
yeah. Salamanca is also going to be down there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. So Salamanca, so Jimmy's client plus Jimmy's, ex coworker, ex boss are found in a grave together. Yeah, I think that brings suspicion on. Yeah, and we got a little bit of hint of this. I think when Gus is like, we're going to rebring construction. We're going to restart construction, do it today, and Mike is like sort of surprised, maybe because he thinks like I don't know what he thinks. Like it's too much trouble, or there's dead bodies down there. So I guess we can't. I don't know why he would care. There's dead bodies down. I guess if they find it, they could find the dead bodies. Um, Actually, that's a good point. Why would they should dig up the bodies and do something else with them if they're gonna make it a drug lab? Because if the drug lab gets busted, they would potentially find the bodies, right?
I guess at that point they figure like, hey, if the DEA or whoever is going to bust the drug lab, we got plenty of problems. What's another couple dead bodies?
Well, a couple murders. Yeah. No, I think it obviously makes it. I think it obviously makes it more difficult. Uh, yeah. So yeah, I think you would. Hmm. Yeah, I think that Mike was probably surprised because he thought that burying them there meant that they would not do anything down there anymore. Um, And so, yeah, the fact that I mean, maybe Gus is like tempting fate. He's just caught. He's not, he's too smart to make a mistake like this. Maybe they do. Maybe they do just dig up the bodies and dissolve them, and that's the end of it. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't come back. There's a
Maybe maybe nobody even finds the bodies. I don't know. To tell the truth, I don't
yeah.
have a great idea of what's going to happen next
No,
in the
you need,
show.
I'm s- yeah. I'm puzzled. Yes.
They got 4 episodes left, and that pleases me and confounds me because I don't know what they're going to do in these 4 episodes. Other than that, obviously they're going to pick up Gene's storyline.
Yeah, that's all we know. We don't
And
know.
probably Kim is going to come back into things, and I think Kim is going to probably come back in Gene's storyline somehow.
Yeah, I think that's likely true. Kim is working with the authorities potentially to get Jimmy. She's trying to find Jimmy. There's potential here. I mean, Kim could be doing anything. Kim could be, she's not a lawyer. She could be doing. She could be, a nun. She could be anything. Like you have no idea, like what she's doing at this point in her life.
Yeah.
Uh,
Here's an interesting thing. If we go by kind of the logic of the show, Kim says in her big speech at the end that she and Jim would be okay separately and they're just poisoned together. This seems to become one of the kind of morals of the show that we're supposed to take as a given. And
yeah.
so if that's true, then when Kim goes off on her own on the path she's on, then she probably doesn't become some kind of sleazy criminal.
Well, we know it's not true in the case of Jimmy. We know that
Yeah,
and maybe it's because of the heartbreak, maybe, but still, he was not
but
okay.
for Kim at least, I think we have the impression that Kim, without the presence of Jimmy in her life, that Kim would go back to being like listening to her better angels.
It's possible she could be some great, humanitarian. Next time we see her. Yeah, I think that's right. Maybe she falls in with another guy who's like even worse. Like maybe that's just like her, you know. Maybe we see that. Like we don't know who she dated before Jimmy. Didn't at some point? Didn't we have a hint of this at one point? Didn't like it wasn't like she dated jerks? Didn't she make a comment like that early in the series? I don't remember,
I
but
don't really remember.
there might be a tendency here. There might be a recurring tendency here with her, and we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. Yeah. So yeah, we have no idea we have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, I did. You were one thing you were off about is Cliff. You really believed in the guy.
Oh,
He
we
really
have
is
talked about
not
that.
as smart as you thought.
Uh, I thought it was ambiguous.
Uh,
I mean, look, in a way, I'd say I was right that Cliff was like a dangling loose end, and that the show was obligated to pick him up, and do something about his suspicions. Uh, did the show do enough to allay his suspicions? And is this where Cliff's role in the show will entirely end? I don't know.
I would think so. I don't think Cliff is. I don't think Cliff is that important. You know what they? Yeah, what they? So yeah, I don't. I don't know. I don't think there's any reason to
But,
think.
I'll tell you something that kind of struck me about that scene.
But it's not like you thought. Like, okay, so he finds out Jimmy was screwing with him, therefore, like he puts it all together. It's like no, like they believe in Howard's Howard's wife. Also, they know that Jimmy was a scoundrel and he was screwing around with him. But there's still a lot of evidence that Howard was on coke and that he killed himself. I mean, because like there's the cops found it. He was in the Pacific Ocean. He fell. A lot of people were, so like they at this point I have no problem thinking they think both things are true, that Jimmy was screwing with Howard, and Howard, the conventional story, he was on drugs and he went and he drowned himself in the ocean. That's also true too.
It was it was kind of weird what they had Cliff do in that entire scene.
Yeah.
Like it was a long scene. Like first they walk into the building, and then the camera zooms back, and at the beginning, setting the scene, it shows us that Cliff is there. That's kind of one of the things that they wanted to tell us right as they walked in. The camera was like, "Oh, by the way, guys, Cliff is here." And then later, when Jimmy and Kim are talking to Rich, the camera framing then kind of zooms out too to show us, "Oh, hey guys, Cliff is now talking to Howard's wife." And then and then the whole time it's like saying Cliff is here, and then they go there, and during that entire conversation where Howard's wife is interrogating them harshly, Cliff just stands there silently making confused expressions, alarmed and confused expressions the entire time. He says like one line during the entire scene, and it was strange.
He goes, "This is not the time,"
Yeah,
or
that's like his one line.
yeah. So Kim comes and she says, "I saw Howard doing coke," basically. And then, I hate Kim so much. The way she's like, "Oh, maybe I didn't really see it. Maybe, maybe, I was mistaken." I hate her. I hate how manipulative and how good she is at lying. Um,
And then at his second line at the end of the scene, after Kim's dastardly plot works and Howard's wife rushes into the bathroom, Cliff just quickly excuses himself. There could have been a scene where he continued the conversation with them, but instead he's like, "Later, guys."
yeah, because he wants to go find her sister. Yeah, uh, he wants to go find her sister. So, um, yeah, was it strange? So what? So when he says this is not the time or place, like he is thinking back to what he's thinking back to the lunch with Kim, where he saw Howard in his mind kicking that hooker out of the car. So that's what he's thinking of, right? He saw it. He saw in his mind. He saw the
He's
drug.
thinking back to the country club and the packet of what he got.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So this is. I don't think this is I don't think this. I thought that they had. I thought these people are full. They're their realm of what is possible. What Cliff thinks it's possible for a human being to do, like, is not the same as what's the reality for Jimmy or Kim. Like, for him to think that this was every single thing here, like the planning, the coke in his locker or whatever, plus like dressing up like Howard and like throwing the hooker out the car, then like much less like killing him and then driving him out to California and dumping him in the ocean. Like, that's not unless they have really good evidence. Their inclination, these people in the normal world, is not to think that these kinds of things are possible, right? So to
Right.
them, in my mind, to them, they're not suspicious. Howard is just a druggie who killed himself.
Well,
That's
on the other hand, you know, Cliff does have more evidence than most people. Like, he has evidence that he could easily look into. The thing that Howard spent time telling him about the
No, but
private.
they buy the idea. They also accept the idea that Jimmy is a scumbag who's like harassing Howard too. That's fine. They like his wife. Even Howard's wife knows that, and she questions him about it. That's not inconsistent with Howard being a drug addict and killing
Cliff
himself.
also Cliff has all the evidence of his past experience with Howard. Remember when the Kettlemans are coming in and telling him like, "Oh, we heard all this stuff about how Howard was doing coke while he was representing us," and Cliff says that's not the
Yeah, he
Howard.
doesn't believe it, but then he also sees the coke in the locker, and then he sees him dying, and the cops finding coke in his car, and then he also sees what he thinks is Howard kicking out. Okay, and he updates his view of Howard, and the Kettleman's just another piece of evidence. Like, you think that Jimmy is behind literally all these things. He seems like he's getting independent sources of confirmation of the same thing with his own eyes, different witnesses again and again and again. And so he had a view of Howard. It changed. I mean, I think that's
He's got all of that. And look, I can understand why you would think like that's just it, case closed. At the same time, isn't there something kind of strange about how much time the show spent showing us that Cliff was present and how present Cliff was and his actual role in the scene? Like, Cliff was just if we got three characters talking and then we got one character just standing there observing it and contributing not very much the entire time. Isn't that an
it,
odd bit of writing?
It is. I mean, it is building suspense for. I didn't notice exactly like that being weird at the time, but yeah, I see what you're saying. And it is building suspense for some Cliff climax, but
And
that was the climax. He's an idiot. He
it seemed
doesn't
to
see.
me
He doesn't see.
like the show went through a lot of work to get Cliff present there for not much payoff or involvement to his presence. And then it seemed to me like the writers and the producers, like they were trying to make Cliff a cipher so that we learned as little as possible about what Cliff made of the whole situation that he was observing.
I think it's clear. I think he's thinking he is in his mind. Kim just confirmed what he's been seeing from Howard, which is that he's a drug addict, and he doesn't want to bring it up. And he says this is not the time, but he's bought into the story. I think that's the climax. I don't think there's a mystery of what he knows or thinks, because I think that he sees a lot of evidence. They fooled him, again and again, independent sources of evidence that it is what it looks like.
We'll see. Maybe he's just an idiot. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't think he's necessarily an idiot. I mean, I think that the stuff that Jimmy did was pretty elaborate. I think if I was in his shoes, I think I would buy. I think I'd buy the story too. Would you think that this guy sent the Kettlemans plus planted the coke, plus killed him and drove him out to the Pacific Ocean? That's a that's a and dressed up like him and threw him out of the car. Like if I thought I saw his car, like it's his car. He saw literally his car. I would be fooled too. I would think that that person was a drug addict.
If I were him, there would be too many unanswered questions that I would
You're,
feel obligated to look into just as a matter of due
uh,
diligence.
you're smarter than me. I would.
Private eye.
You're smarter than me. I would consider that beyond a reasonable doubt that Howard was a drug addict who killed himself. I would not have. I would not have. I don't think Cliff is naturally that suspicious.
We will see where it all goes, and in fact, maybe even if this thing about the bodies being found and the link between Howard and Kim and Jimmy and the drug stuff ever comes up, maybe Cliff could become relevant at that point. If that ever.
I think you're trying too hard to make Cliff. I think you're overestimating Cliff. Last week I said maybe. This week I'm now to the point where I'm saying, yeah, well, we have a big disagreement here, and I don't think we're going to see Cliff again, to be honest.
Well, we'll see.
we will we will see. Okay, is there anything anything else in the show? You were right. The other thing you were right about, you said we were going to see the next. You said we would see the next day. At least. So we did see the next day. That was the opening scene. Like after Howard was killed, we see them coming home at the beginning. But then I thought we would go straight into the post Saul world. But it just took one episode to get there. So we had that one episode. Yeah, the filler makes no sense. They broke up. We had no. That was a big mystery of the show. Mystery show. She could have been with him the whole time up till he was Gene, and she's not. The Saul universe has no Kim Wexler. We solved a major, one of the central mysteries of the show. So that's not filler. That's an important scene. Did you know they were going to break up after when Kim came home and said, and Jimmy wanted to go back? I knew she was leaving him. Did you
I
know
had a
that?
pretty strong suspicion building up for the last few episodes that she was going to leave him.
Yeah, I didn't have that for the last few episodes, but I did. I did have it in that moment. What about when Jimmy finds out that they're gonna that HHM is ending? They're gonna change it to like Brooke and Associates or something like that. I mean that was brutal.
Hmm. Yeah, what about that?
Well, I mean the fact that
Just
like
showed his victory was complete.
his victory was, but it wasn't his victory. I mean he didn't want that though. I don't think he wanted. He didn't want Chuck to die. He didn't want Howard to die. It was just like his victory was not really. It's not
Well,
really
his
a
victory
victory.
was more complete than he ever wanted. He wanted to enjoy
Yeah,
the kind of metaphorical sense.
be
Instead,
careful what you
he
wish
went
for.
for the very literal one.
Yeah, he's yeah, he got his. Yeah, be careful. Yeah, it's exactly. The uh yeah, so there was one more thing about that I was trying to remember about the Egypt. Yeah, okay. So what struck me most? Yeah, this is probably what struck me most about the episode, and like what just makes it so sad, and like makes it so heartbreaking. Is like Howard, like assuming Cliff, like doesn't come become like become some kind of great detective and figure all this stuff out. If this is the end of like Howard's story, it's the saddest thing in the world. His reputation, like there's everyone will remember a false version of him. He was, that he was a drug addict. It was completely made up that he was a drug addict, that he killed himself. And this is how his life ended, and the entire narrative of his life is just something different to publicly and to the people closest to him. I mean, it's this. I thought maybe Kim and maybe Jimmy wanted this to like give her some kind of hope she could hang on to, that maybe like it wasn't true, like because she was not convinced. She thought that Kim and Jimmy there's something wasn't adding up, she said. But they prioritize obviously protecting themselves over her feelings, and so like their destruction of Howard and Howard's memory was not just publicly but and professionally, but like also to those closest to him, and that was just so very sad.
Right. And I mean, they made his wife think that it was her fault. And to a degree, I think maybe she was trying to make Cliff think that it was his fault. Like, hey, you didn't see the signs either. You didn't stop this.
Yeah, yeah. It's very sad. So maybe we're hoping that the truth uh, comes out at simple. Nobody in these. I'm fascinated. Like one potential. There's potential endings, right? Like there's everyone either ends up dead or happily ever after. So that's uh Pinkman. Jesse Pinkman lives happily ever after. Everyone else in the show pretty much ends up, in this universe ends up dead. Um,
Saul's ending so far is not quite happily ever
yeah,
after.
yeah. So yeah, the ones that we've seen the end for. So that has anyone even had a happy ending besides Jesse? Um,
Hmm.
does
Nobody.
Skylar get? I mean, does Skylar? Did they get to keep? Well, I don't think they got to keep any of Walt's money, did they?
No,
No.
I don't think so. Yeah, nobody's coming up as somebody who gets a happy ending. I guess Jesse's the closest
Yeah.
you see to that.
Yeah, and so nobody gets a happy ending. No, so nobody. So there's only one happy ending. That's Jimmy. I mean, that's Jesse. Jimmy is not the happy ending. That story does not seem like it's going to lead to a happy. Or maybe it does. Maybe that's what will make it surprising. The fact that this is the thing. This is the one story that should end in a
Maybe,
tragedy.
I kind of suspect like maybe that's what the show is going to do for us because how like that's what would be most surprising in a way and the most interesting for the show to do to go into the far future with Gene and somehow give him a happier ending than he currently has. And if it's just more depressing stuff like, oh, his life is terrible and now it's going to become even more terrible, then that wouldn't be that interesting to me, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Somebody comes in like he goes to jail for somebody go to jail for the rest of their life. That's not nobody's had that ending. That would be and he has a happy like, what if he goes to jail and he's like happy there and like becomes like the fastest talker in the prison courtroom. You can imagine some hybrid where he's like in jail forever but he's found like peace. That would be sort of a happy ending, sort of a sad ending at the same time, right?
Like this is where he truly fits in. This is where he belongs all along.
This is where he's more comfortable sleeping. It's like better, even better than the Vietnamese nail salon. It's like his prison bed is like where he's more comfortable uh, than he's ever been.
He's
Yeah, because
certainly not able to be himself in his current life.
yeah, Gene. Yeah, he's sitting. I mean, he's sitting there. He's watching like commercials on VHS. I mean, it's the saddest thing in the world. Like, oh, I was the biggest guy in Albuquerque.
It's kind of like there's levels of brokenness. Like first he's Jimmy, then we've just seen Jimmy become so broken that he becomes Saul, and then Saul becomes so broken that he's Gene.
Yeah.
And Gene is fondly remembering. Gene is not fondly remembering being Jimmy. Gene is fondly remembering being Saul.
Yeah, it's a different level because as Saul is it's broken, but he's functioning. I mean, he's energetic. It's an energetic broken. Like Gene can't find the energy to do anything. He's just living in fear and cowering in his house and drinking by himself. And so yeah, you're right. I mean, how do you get a happy ending here, short of being short of aside the jail thing, like he's got crimes, like he's going to be convicted of stuff. If he could disappear, he could become like Pinkman and like vacuum cleaner guy. I don't know. That's too close to Jesse. That seems too. That seems. Oh yeah. Plus, he tells the guy he doesn't want him anymore. He tells the vacuum cleaner guy to go away in that payphone at the mall. So that's probably not it. Um,
Well, I'll tell you how they could get, and to be clear, if they do go for some kind of happy ending, I don't think it'll be completely happy. I don't think it'll be a fairy tale ending. There'll have to be some kind of bittersweet element to it. But the raw ingredient they have to get him to a happier ending is to reunite with him with Kim somehow, and maybe he's now become a person that wouldn't be toxic together with Kim.
Yeah, I want them to have children, but they're too old now. I mean, that's the
Yeah, yeah.
problem. If they were 10 years younger, you could see them with like 4 kids or 3 kids. That's a happy ending. Children justifies bad stuff in the past, creation of life, but they're too old. Kim is now going to be, I was wondering how old they were supposed to be. I said this to you the other day. In this episode where they get married, there's a quick scene where you see their driver's licenses.
Yeah.
So you see that at the start of the show, Kim is 34, and I think Jimmy is like 41 or
Well,
something.
I thought you said Kim was 32. This is at the start of the show.
Yeah, the show. I googled it. The show starts in 2002, and so here's what I sent you. Yeah, so Jimmy's birth is 60, and Kimmy is at 68. So if it starts 2002, she was 34. Um, So 34. And so by the end of Breaking Bad, that's like isn't that 15 years later or something? Yeah, she's an old woman. She's close to 50. She's not having kids. If that's when they get back together. Unless she
You know,
froze her eggs or something like that.
I kind of noticed that you and I have both started calling her Kimmy at times.
Uh-huh. Yes, why did we do that?
Well, just because Jimmy, Kimmy, uh,
Yeah.
easy mistake to make, but I kind of like it. Kimmy sounds good.
Yeah. So she's so yeah. So I mean, they're sort of too old. They're a senior couple. I guess that could be a happy ending. I want children to justify it, but like maybe that's not it.
No, this is a thing. You're just not going to get it. They're
I'm
not.
not gonna get it. I wanted to free pronatalism, and I want that I want that to be the lesson that they had kids, and that that was a better distraction.
The lesson of the show that the kids
Will distract you from framing your
yeah.
yeah
Only life can
yeah.
can solve this.
It'll distract you from scamming and destroying everyone you're close to. You will just be chasing your own kids, like Mike. If Mike had more grandchildren, I guess he would do more stuff to pay, to give them money. But if people had children, they would have something else to distract them from all this stuff. So yeah, maybe they end up together as an older couple, like reliving their glory days, a very cute thing, rocking together on the nursing. I don't think they're going to age them. I don't think they'll make them like 70 or something. But they'll be
If they do this, I do think that Kim and modern day Saul Gene will find each other somehow. Probably. I
Oh,
think
I
they
think they
probably
have
won't
to. I
put
think
the
they have to. There's too much space left for it just to be Jimmy by himself. Like there's no other character here that needs anything
Yeah,
to happen. So
I think that's a good way to think of it. We've got a limited number of characters in play. Some of them had died, and some of them, I think, their arc has just kind of ended. Now that we're in the Breaking Bad era, I
like
think
Cliff,
Dustin's arc.
who you think is going to become a star, but yes, I think Cliff's
They
arc.
only have so many ingredients that they can use to have characters interact and produce a show, and so Kim and Jimmy have to find each other.
Yeah, Salamanca's all dead. Gus dead. Nacho dead. Howard dead. Chuck dead. Breaking Bad. Jesse could somehow. I don't know. It seems like a stretch, but he's still alive at least. Um, You're right. There's the Mike dead. Yeah, there is. Everyone is dead. Everyone is dead, and there's Jimmy's. I mean, maybe Walt's family. I mean, Walt has Skylar and the two kids. They could they could be there could be some Breaking Bad. People who didn't die. Hank's wife. I mean, is still alive. The Nazis are all dead. Um, Gomez. I think Gomez is still alive. I don't
Oh,
think
he's dead.
Gomez.
No, he's dead.
Oh, how did he die?
He died. Same
With the
shootout
Nazis?
he did.
Yeah. Okay. Gomez dies first. Gomi is dead. Okay. Uh, Nacho's dad. I don't think he matters. Yeah. So
You know,
cool. Yeah.
back at that moment, I think that Mike went into that conversation with Nacho's dad thinking that they were kind of kindred spirits. Like, Mike, from Mike's perspective, Mike is also a salt of the earth guy. Like, hey, I'm just a working stiff, just like you. Look at what these guys make us do.
Yeah.
But, Nacho's dad wasn't having it. He's like, you're not like me. You're not another blue collar guy. You're not salt of the earth. You're just another gangster. There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
the rest of them.
Yeah. It tells him Spanish you gangsters are all the same. Yeah, he was doing him a favor. He was telling him the truth about Nacho, and telling him that he was a good guy. I think that was nice for the sake of Nacho's memory. Howard will be remembered as worse than he was. Nacho will be remembered as good as he was, or slightly better. By I don't know if anyone cares about him besides his dad. The why don't the Salamancas go kill the Salamancas? That scene was also very good where uh, they brought Gus there, and then like he fools all of the Salamancas, and that was really funny. Where he's like pushing the bed, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna Don Hector, you're gonna sleep in my bed tonight. You are the honored guest." He's just like pushing his butt. I'm like, "No, I don't want this." That was really funny.
The girl will show up.
Yeah, maybe yeah, maybe some chicas will show up. Yeah, I remember the first time when we see Hector in the Breaking Bad with Tuco. He's like, "You want to watch your mamacitas?" He's putting him in front of like Univision, so he's watching the girls. Like, this is like common thing where Hector, where he knocks down that thing and he watches the nurse pick it up. Hector is just in his chair, like
I
all
do
of his
remember
horror
that now.
being offered sex in different situations. That's a common common recurrence. And so so that was a fun scene. Um, the what were we just talking about before? We were talking about Hector. The,
I don't remember.
yeah, there was something else I want to talk about. There was the Nacho. There was Mike. Yeah. Kaylee is still alive. I mean, not all these people are matter. These people are only connected to the people who do matter. Um, okay, yeah. So there's uh, yeah. Oh, Lyle. We talked about Lyle again. Who knows? We'll still see him again. He's a So it's pretty late to build that
Fan
to build.
favorite, fan favorite, but I don't think he'll be back. I think we're probably done.
Yeah, so that's cool. We don't know what we have no idea. We
We're,
are clueless
we're,
as
at a, we're at a kind of remarkable point as viewers because there is so much left to be done, and we have so little. There are so few ingredients, and so like we know, okay, they got to use their limited ingredients, the limited characters they have to make a plot. But so much has been tied off and done, and so much time remains that we just don't
yeah.
really know what's going to come
Yeah,
next.
it's almost like its own spin-off. It's like you have Gene. You have the Gene show. You have 4 episodes potentially of the Gene show. Who knows? They might do some more concurrent with Breaking Bad. So, this is what I was wondering about. Are they going to do concurrent with Breaking Bad, or are they going to just skip to Gene? What combination of those things will they do? Um, but yeah, you're like going back to Breaking Bad, or you're going to like the Gene spinoff, and you get 4 episodes. A lot can be done with one character uh, there. So yes, this is what we want. We want to be kept. I felt this way after last week's show. I thought they tied up, most things, but you needed the yeah. I guess you tied up the cliff thing, maybe not. You tied up like sort of the aftermath. You had the breakup. You solved why there's no Kim in the Breaking Bad world.
You say I was wrong about the Cliff thing, but I
No,
was
no.
partly right that they had to revisit Cliff and they had
Well,
to do something about his suspicions.
I mean, I think that Cliff was not a, I don't think it was Cliff's. I don't think Cliff was the most one of like close to the most important thing in this episode. Yeah, they went back to him, but you thought, and you still think maybe that like he's going to be like putting all the pieces together and potentially like
I don't know. Look, it's a matter of it's a matter of degrees. Like I am less confident now that Cliff is gonna do more, but you know, you know
okay, yeah.
everything there's to say about it.
Yeah, and I'm very I was less confident than you that Cliff would do it. Now I'm even less. So we both moved in the same direction. You estimate Cliff more highly, and I estimate him less highly. So yeah, that's where we are. But yeah, that's exactly what. Did you see the commercial by the way? I just fast forward the commercial that catch about accident. It's like the from the creators of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul interview with the vampire. Did
Yeah,
you see this?
yeah, I saw that.
What is this? Is this a thing we should be thinking about?
I guess there's a TV remake of it now. Might be
That
worth.
was a movie, right? With Tom Cruise, wasn't that a movie a long time
Yeah,
ago?
it was a movie with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt back when they were very young.
Hmm. Well, okay. I'm intrigued.
You might
I guess.
now. It's from Peter Gold, I guess. He's the executive producer.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll see whether Gould or Gilligan is the genius here. Then, so you don't know if Gould is sort of if he's the brains or Gilligan is the brains because this whole thing they've been working together, right?
yeah. It might be worth checking out.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a look. I mean, we remember that's what we said we wanted. We wanted these guys to create a new universe.
Yeah.
So maybe
Although
this.
that's just Anne Rice's existing product.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Yeah, it wasn't what I've expected. Interview with the Val. I didn't think that that's the direction they would go. I think they have the talent to build something from scratch. But I don't know anything about the original Interview with the Vampire. I just know like its
Yeah,
existence. I don't
I
know
don't.
this. Okay.
Couldn't
All
have
right.
done.
So we don't know. This could be something we could get very interested in. But okay, cool. We are where we want to be as viewers. We want to be in suspense. We want to be excited about what's going to happen and looking forward to it and not knowing what's going to happen. And so yeah, we'll pick this up next week then.
See you next week.